A very rainy morning in some parts of Nairobi, but you know what they say about the rain? It is blessings galore. This is K24 this morning. Karibu tena sana. My name is Mungalambuvi.
A very good morning to you indeed. Shiko Kaitani is my name.
My name is Jeff Moten. Of course, as always on K24 this morning, we always start off with our newspaper review. Look at the big stories that you're waking up to right here on the show. Today I'll be joined by Didmas Baraza, Kimilili MP. We'll also have Joy Mdivo of the East Africa Law and Justice Center and nominated Senator Isaac Mwaura, who will go through the big stories of the day to see what it actually means and what it portends for the news cycle as we move on that proper. So that's coming up as we kick off the show. But even as you say, some parts of Nairobi were raining.
Yes.
We do know you're not a Nairobi resident.
Actually, I am from Machakos. And every single morning. Yeah, it is. It is
Okay.
heavily, actually. It's raining so much that the traffic is completely almost at a standstill at some points. Yeah.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're driving, of course, that's something you need to really key on the roads. But also, right here on the show, we get interactive as well.
Of course, and as always, we're going to be taking a look at those trending stories on social media. So we will be talking about what you are talking about, and what we want you to do is, of course, participate. Let us know if you feel that there are some stories that we've definitely left out. And of course, you can hit us up on our social media platforms at K24 TV, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Okay,
All right.
fantastic stuff.
Then later on, much later on, we'll be talking about money and finances. Today, we'll be chilling out with Charity, who's the head of remittances at EcoBank. I will also have Helen, who is a who's in the export and import business. And then we shall have an IT expert who goes by the name of Josephine Jorege. Just talk about how money transfer has assisted us in our day-to-day, businesses. And of course, if you have a startup company, you need to be tuned in because they will tell you how that particular service can help you expand it into different territories.
Okay, fantastic. As always at this particular point, tell us a big good morning and tell us how you're getting us from. Get us on K24 TV across all social media platforms. You could also send us an SMS on 21222. Let us know how your morning is so far. If you're already on the roads, let us know how the roads are looking. Already been told if you're doing the scenic drive from Machakos to Nairobi, there might be a bit of traffic because of the rain coming along that particular side. But we have a traffic update to let you know which roads to use and more importantly, which ones to avoid.
Like Jeff said, we definitely do want to give you a heads up about which roads are looking clear, which ones to avoid. Of course, this being 6 a.m., not expecting much activity on our roads, but as always, it's always good to take a peek. So why don't we start off with at least 3 major roads this morning? And of course, as the show progresses, we will be giving you an update if there is any. Okay, that being said, we are on Mombasa Road, and right about now, this is the feed that we are receiving from our satellite feed. As you can see, this area is the culprit, by the way, to watch out for. And what am I talking about? Let me zoom out slightly so you can actually see the intersection of City Cabanas. The red line indicating that, by the way, traffic is bumper to bumper. And as you can see, it moves from a light red into a deep red, indicating, of course, traffic has begun to pick up. And that goes all the way past Imara Daima. And when we talk about Samir Group Africa, you can see it actually goes all the way, and right after Samir, that's when it starts to open up. Of course, if you do have an alternative, if you are on Mombasa Road, please, this is a really good time to use, of course, all those particular routes that you do know about. And if not, then we're going to ask you to exercise a little bit of patience. As you can see, it does clear up and the roads are looking quite clear as you pass the South Sea intersection and all the way to Nyayo Stadium. If you'd like me to just zoom in a little bit on that so that we can see what Nyayo Stadium looks like. And of course, there you go. Traffic already starting to pick up, but nothing to worry about. Okay, moving on to Langata Road, you can actually see right about now at this particular time, Langata Road looking okay. Lots of concerns for those who are coming from the areas of Rongai and further, perhaps Kiserian, following yesterday's riots right outside MMU. A lot of you actually, sending in your feedback, talking about whether you're not sure whether the roads are closed or perhaps if there's still any chaos at that particular area, but right about now, we do understand all is well. So nothing major to worry about. As you can see, this particular road is clear, and we're talking about if you are coming all the way from the sides of Rongai, coming down to Bomas, it is okay. And so from Galleria Mall coming down Langata Road, you are good to go. You can see it's all good. Okay, so let's move over to another road that we cannot, of course, leave out every single morning. We're talking about the likes of Gong Road. So if my map will allow me, let me actually find that for you. There we go. Here we are. This is getting us closer to Mombasa Road. And of course, or rather the junction, rather, sorry, apologies for that, Bagathi Way. And then, of course, to Gong Road. There you go. All right. So zooming in very quickly into Gong Road, as always, we want to take you back all the way to the sides of Junction Mall. And there you go, Marsabit Plaza coming all the way down. Things are okay. This is one area that you definitely need to know about. Marsabit Plaza, deep excavation and a diversion at this particular area. The red broken line actually indicating that there is construction currently at the Oledume Road. So please be on lookout for that. Speaking about junction and using Kingara Road, right now you can see this actually becoming a major route because it does connect to Lavington. The red line indicating, of course, traffic has already begun to pick up. Lots of roadworks currently here at the Junction Mall. If you are from that area, then you definitely know what I'm talking about. And so from Kingara Road all the way to Junction, and of course down to Lavington, things are looking okay, and so far so good. Gitanga Road as well. We'll keep monitoring those roads for you. So far we've taken a look at Langata Road, we've taken a look at Gong Road, we've taken a look at James Gishuru, and of course Kingara Road. We do want you to be our eyes and our ears right there. Wherever you are, why don't you let us know what's happening, and of course send us a tweet pic at K24 TV on Instagram, Facebook, and of course Twitter. Jeff Morte is going to be taking us through the dailies, and of course we'll be right back with the traffic at the top of the hour.
And a very good morning to you. Welcome to K24 this morning. As always, keep those traffic updates coming in at K24 TV, or you could also SMS us on 21222 to let us know what's happening wherever you are. It's now time for us to jump into the big stories of the day as we look at our newspapers. It's time for the newspaper review, joined by Kimilili MP Didmas Baraza, Joy Mdivo, East Africa Center for Law and Justice. Karibu sana.
Thank you for having us.
Welcome this morning. As always, we start off at looking at the front pages of each of the dailies and then dig a bit deeper into the big stories of the day. Start off with the front page of the People Daily. How fake cop planned city's 72 million shilling heist. Police imposter is unmasked as detectives round up more than 10 suspects in investigation that implicates 2 politicians. The lead story in your copy of your People Daily. Look at the front page of the Daily Nation. Uhuru caught up in Raila Ruto battle for Kibra. Fears that Jubilee's move to field candidate and campaign for him in the by-election will threaten the handshake between president and ODM leader. That's the story they're leading with there on the front page of the Daily Nation, but also given equal prominence on that front page. Did this boy have to die? Police kill over a bribe. That's the story right there, and the picture of baby Duncan Githinji just racking up a lot of sympathy, and the big question as to really why the police had to move in the direction that they did. And we'll be talking about that right here as well. Front page of the Standard. Secret plot to force teachers into polls. After the contested ouster of Wilson Sosion, 2 top NAT officials are now fighting for their jobs as TSC declares they should have retired by now. That's on the front page of your Standard this morning. On the Star's front page, MPs accuse state of crucifying them for backing Ruto. Muranga police order Ndindi Nyoro to surrender at the nearest police station. Muranga Catholic Bishop, however, gives politicians limited time in church, and that's an order that comes from him in that entire jurisdiction as far as he is concerned. And last front page of the Business Daily, law gives cabinet powers to cancel, alter or census data on this particular issue. AG has cleared new law which was signed last month to be published by the state printer this week, paving way for CS to change official Kenya National Bureau of Statistics numbers. Definitely going to be a hot one, this one, and it'll definitely bring up a big debate therein. We're discussing that and plenty more right here, of course, as we go through the stories of the day. As always, your view invaluable. Tweet us at K24 TV or SMS us on 21222. As promised, let's start off with the People Daily's front page. Fake cop planned city heist, 72 million shillings, of course, gotten away with. They have since recovered part of that money. But at this particular point, Honorable Baraza, let me bring you in right here and on this one, because we're looking at a situation where, as the story broke the first time, we knew that it was 2 police officers who are behind this particular scheme who had been caught. But upon investigation, we realized that one of them has been masquerading and, being a police officer, yet has never been in any, has never gone to police training, has never been in any police station, and we're discovering it now because of the crime. The big question is, if it had to take a 72 million shilling heist for us to discover this one policeman, how many more are there that we don't know about?
It is completely absurd, because if you look at the story, that this is a fellow who is not a police officer, but he managed to get himself from, to get approval by G4S to be part of the people who are in charge of the transiting this cash from one destination to the other. These points at failed procedures. Because you see, you cannot just hand over money to a police escort you have not confirmed.
Right.
Definitely, there must be some kind of a communication from the G4S to the AP,
right.
As to who, which particular officer will be available to escort this cash. And when this person arrives, he must identify himself, and the due diligence done to ascertain whether the document that this person has produced to confirm that he is the one that the police has forwarded to escort the cash is true or not.
Right.
So I think, but the bigger picture is that Kenyans are very lazy when it comes to verification of documents.
Right.
We are not very thorough, and then we need to improve, in terms of verifying, to confirm that whatever we had been put on the table is correct.
Right.
We are good in just ticking boxes.
The DC had also said that in terms of that ascertaining if indeed these are police officers or not, might speak to collusion between some staff members at G4S and these particular police officers who got away with this heist. That's still an issue of investigation. But Joy, I remember when we had the Huduma number, being rolled out, and how the president spoke about how they had discovered a number of ghost workers within the police force. And this is the right way to move, because now we can actually tell who's working where, what is going on where. And here we are.
In fact, that time I think the numbers he was speaking about was about 2,600 people who are found to be ghost workers in the government. And every month we're collecting 1.8 billion in salaries.
Right.
And when you think about that, it's what Mheshimiwa Dimas is saying. We've not been too keen about some of these things. You find the issue of ghost workers even in the city council, the issue of ghost workers in the Teacher Service Commission, people who substitute workers for other workers. There's instances where you have, forget even about just somebody who's a ghost worker. It's, I have the job, but I feel too bougie to do it, so I get Mote to do it in my place. So Mote always answers to the name Mdivo, but there's Mdivo somewhere doing something else. So anybody comes and asks, is there a police officer here by the name Mdivo? They'll point to you and say, by the way, here he is. And between you and I, we know that you're not the police officer, I am. And some of these instances, that's what happened. You have somebody who substitutes for somebody else. But I agree as well with Mheshimiwa that you cannot do this for this long without some collision. Somebody somewhere knows that you're not supposed to be there. And the person who knows you're not supposed to be there is benefiting from it. In fact, this time around, we've heard about it because the heist was so daring. The amount lost was so much. I'm sure they've gotten away with 100, 200,000 here and there. By the time you see somebody stealing 72 million, they've gotten away with little, they've had a few dry runs. G4S, this is not the first time we're hearing about their cash in transit manenos. In fact, I wonder how they're still getting insurance for their work, because they've been famous. I mean, gone in 4 seconds was a hashtag at some point because of how they used to lose cash in transit. So they need to relook things. I mean, you don't always have to use administration of police. You can beef up your own security so that your cash in transit is a lot safer. If our people who are having cash in transit and G4S was my supplier, right now is the time to start thinking whether this is what we really need to do. But in this particular instance, it goes to the failure in our system to ensure that those who need to be there should be there. We need some employed technology. Let's not use face recognition. Every time you come, let's scan your thumbprint, let's scan your retina, let's be sure that you're who you say you are. It's the technology is available. And the need is there. Employ it. And
aren't we shouting from the rooftops on this, Honorable Baraza, because this isn't the first time we've had an imposter for police. We had the famous Waiganjo. All the way to almost the very top, and nobody knew that this is actually not a police promotion.
You see, our problem has always been, and I would really blame, I want to say that it is not necessarily the only role that the police should play in such an investigation is to arraign someone in court. But they should also, as investigators, go through the procedures and identify areas that needs to be improved to make the procedure of identifying who should escort cash more tight to avoid it from being infiltrated by imposters. So I want to see 2 reports. One report, of course, being forwarded to the DPP, but another report to be forwarded to the National Police Service, to be what should be implemented to avoid the occurrence of these things in future. Since independence, we've had this kind of thefts happening. And I'll tell you for free that they're using the same procedures, they're using the same formula, but because we are always keen on just taking people, handcuffing them, taking them to court, but at the end of the day, we need to get lessons learned with the recommendations on how we can improve our systems to prevent such kind of thievery.
Should you probably even think about maybe just cleaning up the police staff registry once and for all to find out actually who are the police officers should be here, or how do we contain this? Because this seems like it's one of very many. If you went to other police stations or other jurisdictions, you'd find, as she said, the Mdivo who you think is Constable Mdivo really is not.
But that is not the problem. You know, a few months ago, even the president himself made the announcement of the number of millions Kenyans were losing in the name of paying fake police officers.
So how do you solve
that?
But
the senior police officers who were the perpetrators of that vice are still in the office.
So that's who we should go for.
So what we should do is that after we have identified that we've been having ghost workers on our payroll, whether police or teacher service commission, the investigation should go deeper. We should see first, some heads rolling. Because there must be some people who are paid by the government to ensure that only legitimate police officers are paid. Those that are not legitimate police officers, I mean, they are accomplices. Who was pocketing this money? When you say, so-and-so is a ghost, who was pocketing this money? I don't think it's difficult to really find out who was on the receiving end, who has been benefiting, and that person should be surcharged, his properties should be... I mean, if we were paying Joy Mudivo as the police commandant for Nairobi for all these 5 years, and we realize that we have been not a police officer, then what we should do that a way must be found to ensure Joy returns this money to the government, so that this money can be used to improve the life of the Kenyan people.
Joy, do you feel that's the way to go? We go for all the senior, officers, and from there, let them answer to everyone who's under,
sometimes in government, the corruption doesn't happen always with the most senior officers. Let me give you an instance. I was speaking to a public servant, and he had realized that I think he was working with the Teacher Service Commission, if I'm not wrong, way back, I think it was in the 80s. And those days, letters used to be handwritten. It used to be, typed in a typewriter and handed out. And so they would do a list and say, you know what, these are the teachers that we are hiring. And you give your secretary to type. And so you give her 15 names. And she would go and add another 5.
The secretary?
Yes, the secretary. And then bring it back to you for signature. And then the way public officers want to do, okay, so this is the letter that you typed, okay, fine. And he would sign and he would. By the time they discovered, she had hired so many random teachers. There's so many people on the payroll that were that was purely the initiative and the prerogative of his secretary. So sometimes you find the people who are involved in this are fairly junior officers. And sometimes it's not even that because they'll get a rolling pay from it. No, it's the one off, you know what, let's get to Saidia Kijana, we get him in the system.
Right.
And that thing has led to a lot of, for lack of a better word, there's a Greek term, madhogodhanio, that covers all of that, to a lot of madhogodhanio.
Yes.
But on a light note, I'm glad to see that my colleague Cliff Better is now feeling better.
Right.
And he's representing these people. And I pray for his continued good health because this matter must come to an end quickly.
Indeed. Okay, and that's a story that you can get. It's a lead story in your copy of the People Daily. We'll now move on to page 7 of the PD, and it's all about matters, charging in terms of graft. Olo and others in the LBDA mall case freed on 10 million shillings bail. Kisumu County Assembly Speaker Onyango Law, former Lake Basin Development Authority Managing Director Peter Aguko, and Bobasi MP Innocent Obiri were yesterday released on a cash bail of 10 million shillings each in a multi-million, mall shilling scandal right there. We look at this and you ask yourself, because now we're looking at the figures and the hole we've dug ourselves into. This mall at full capacity is supposed to be giving around 19 million shillings. The debt they'll be paying in terms of the loan obligations they have is around 40 million shillings. So then itself, in terms of just putting a business case, really, how will this project ever be profitable, Joy?
No, but even the people who are giving money against this ought to have done their due diligence. You know, corruption goes both ways. It can't just be that they inflated the costs. The people who are giving them this money knew it was a loan. How are you planning to recover your loan? Were they also defrauding the people that they're giving the money from? So for me, it goes full circle. And I remember watching a news a press briefing where they were saying, oh, we need to be clear so that we can carry on, so that we pay this. And I'm like, you know what, sometimes be careful what to wish for, because it may just come to pass. Now this has come to the fore, you realize the people who are involved, somebody as much as a speaker of a county assembly, I mean, quite frankly, we have to come to a place, even we as Kenyans, let's love ourselves a little bit and say, you know what, let's demand some accountability. This is something that's not unique to this mall. We've had this conversation about projects that seem to be over-exaggerated, roads that cost more than they ought to, buildings that cost more than, even as with the Law Society, there's a time we had the big fallout with the arbitration center that was supposed to cost more than it was worth.
Right.
We need to come to a place as Kenyans to tumia school fees. Let's use the money that the money that our parents paid for school fees. Let's use it to ask some of these tough questions and stop these things dead in the tracks before they start. Because by the time it's been built, the debt has been incurred. Even if people go to jail now, unless you personally surcharge them, how are you ever going to recover this? How are you ever? And right now, malls are dying. Malls are not roaring business right now.
Right.
So even if at full capacity, you're able to get full capacity.
Still,
the people of the Lake Basin were played on this one.
You're still in the red on that, and I'll bring in Honorable Baraza on this as well, because we're looking at a situation where not only were some of these securities given illegally, but also conflict of interest playing out. You have, the speaker who's also giving legal consultation for the same company coming to bid for this contract where he's the chairperson. Where do the lines, I mean, at some point you need to just speak up and say, I work for them. I shouldn't be, part of this particular decision-making committee.
Yeah, I also just want to reiterate what I've said earlier on, that some of these investigations should not just limit themselves to arraigning people in court, but the outcome of this investigation, specifically pointing out the flaws, the gaps that aided this kind of graft, should inform part of government policy reviews, some of the legislations in the country. We change the laws to solve a particular public problem, not for any other particular reason. But I would want to see, as members of parliament, as a member of parliament, a situation where the leader of majority party, the Honorable Edin Duale, bringing some bill in the National Assembly or some amendments, and in support of that particular amendments, we will save aside some of the theft that has happened, for us to get value for this kind of investigations. Because you look at the way they are executed and wonder, how did the government officers who have the responsibility to really go through, how did they not go find some of these things? Lastly, on this very same, the war against graft, it's high time as a country we review the war against graft on a quarterly basis, because the efficiency of a country's war against graft is not just in terms of how many corruption cases we have prosecuted, but we need to bring all the stakeholders together on a quarterly basis to be able to tell the country how many cases were prosecuted, how much money, itemized money were recovered from this kind of investigations, how many convictions were secured, so that we can be able to come up with a conclusion that yes, the war against graft in this country is on the right track, or maybe not on the right, if it's not on the right track, then we change tack.
Okay, of course. An interesting, suggestion right there. What do you feel about it? Quarterly reviews as far as the war on corruption is concerned, is that the way to go to actually take stock every quarter to see where we are and what more needs to be done in that direction? We'd love to hear your say as well at K24 TV, on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. You can also SMS us on 21222. We take a short break. We're back with plenty more right here as we go through the dailies on your newspaper review.